Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and this is episode 288 of the world famous, the Universal Love, the best podcast, ladies and gentlemen, in 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But you and I, ladies and gentlemen, we just call it Online Marketing Moves. We are coming to you live today. Today is May the 24th, 2021. At the time of this recording. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing today? All right. Today is Monday. It's a brand new week. It's the last week of the month. Well, we got May 31st. It'll be next Monday, but that's it. It's so strange that Memorial Day is going to be May the 31st. Yesterday I had a nice time. I know I had to get off the podcast and go, make sure my wife had a nice day yesterday. So we had a nice time. We went out to eat. We had some seafood. We went to this little restaurant here in Atlanta called Bonefish Grill. Bonefish Grill, say that 60 times. Me, my wife, mother-in-law. Mother-in-law offered to pay, and then of course she didn't pull out her purse. And then when we get out to the car, she asked the same question she always asks. She said, "Did you leave a tip?" I go, "Why do you always worry about the tip when you never pay? How about that, sister?" Okay. But of course, she just said, well. But and we had a nice time, and all that good stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to talk about you. We are going to talk about you, and we're going to talk about one of the more important things if you want a sustainable business. Now, we all know some journeys end in a short period of time, some journeys end in a long period of time. But if you want a business, if you want your own business, if you want your own online business to last for a very long time, there are certain things that you need to do, that you should do. One, build up a quite the following, build up quite the email list, build up quite the YouTube following, the podcast following, whatever kind of following you want, build that up. And another thing you must do is don't be a hatchet. Don't be a fraudster. Don't be a huckster. You know what I mean? Don't be one of these people that are like, hey, copy and paste, just do this and do that. Don't be one of those jokers, because it sounds great. It will only go so far. If you're one of these people who, and like we said before, we talked about this before. It's okay to be inspired. Listen, the wheel's been invented already. We know this. You know what I mean? Like, you want to go out here and make a phone. You see Steve Jobs made the iPhone, or Apple made the iPhone. You decide, hey, you're 18. You're like, oh, I would like to make a phone like that. You're inspired by the iPhone. Great. Are you gonna sit there and just make the iPhone and say, hey, this is this is this is an L phone. It's sort of like the iPhone, but it's not the iPhone. If you ever seen Coming to America, and it's funny. It's about copying and pasting, pretty much. One of the best scenes in Coming to America. Coming to America, a classic, by the way. If you haven't seen Coming to America, I'm not talking about the sequel that they just came out with. I'm talking about the original Coming to America with the great Eddie Murphy. Peak Eddie Murphy, okay, ladies and gentlemen? Eddie Murphy, one of the funniest people on the planet. If you've never seen this movie, check it out. But they haven't seen it in the movie. Well, they go get a job at McDowell's. It's not McDonald's, it's McDowell's. McDonald's has the Big Mac. McDowell's had the Big Mick. You know what I mean? It's so subtle. It's so subtle that it's funny. And that's how a lot of, quote unquote gurus, internet gurus, want you to be. They don't even do, the funny part is they don't even do the Big Mac thing. They like, oh, they came out with a Big Mac. I got a Big Mac as well. But, it's sort of like if you watch enough YouTube videos, you see people when they do because I remember when I first, and we'll get back to talking about you and talking about, you know, how to make a sustainable business. Because before we get started on, before I go back to that, and before we finish the whole thing, the thing I want for you is whatever you want to do. I don't care what it is, but I want you to be able to. My goal for you is, so I want you to be able to say, "Hey, I'm done with the past. I'm done with the whatever, job you may have, whatever you may have, and this is my present. This is my future, and I want you to be able to do the thing that you want to do forever. You know what I mean? So when on this podcast, when we talk about things, I don't want this. This is not. I, when we talk about things on this podcast, this is not for people. If you want it quick, this podcast ain't for you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to tell you all, man, you're gonna make $1 million in 2 days. No, you're not. What I want you for what I want for you is, I want for you to be able to sustain this for a long time. You know what I mean? For a long time. I want you to be able to, wake up. Had to start yesterday. I want you to be able to wake up. Let's say you wrote a book, you come out with a course. What I want you to be able to do is, you have the audience. You come up with a course. You write you do your emails for the weekend. You do your emails for a week. You set them up. You set everything up, and then boom, they start. And now what I want you to be able to do is come back. Come back Sunday, Monday morning. Look at your thing, and you say, "Hey, I made whatever money you make is a lot of money," and you say, "Boom, I'm happy about that." And that's my goal for you. My goal for you is to be able to, create a business for yourself that will be sustainable, that will be efficient, and that, not that I'm saying, listen, now we both know you got to work at it, but I want you to be able to, if you can look away for a couple of days and come back and you're like, okay, this is the results, this is the money I made, boom, I'm happy about that. That is what I want for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know, hey, listen, we work around here. If you listen to this podcast, we work. Due diligence. You put in the work, you put in the effort. But what I want for you to be able to do is, let's say if they say, whatever happens to you, somebody says, we took all your money, your all your money's frozen, and then you can say, that's okay, because I have the skills, I have the efficiency to go out and make more money. Like, that's what I want for you. I don't want you to have to go back to your old job. I don't want you to have to go back to your old life. I want you to get the skills and the knowledge that you need so you can do this whole thing ever and ever and ever. And that is the goal of this podcast. And if you don't know that, then now you know. Okay. And so all of us, because I don't want anybody, the one thing that because man, I'll be honest with you. I just don't care what people think. Like, you see these people on there copying and pasting, and I used to get annoyed. I'm like, damn, I'm like, making more money. But I'm saying, you know what? I'd be honest with you. I couldn't sleep at night if I was just stealing, copying, and pasting off other people, just word for word, just blatantly, Like, I'll give you credit. If I see something that's interesting, I'm like, oh, okay, I should use that. I should try that out, I would give the people credit, but to just utterly steal it and then act like, oh no, I came up with that myself. Like, come on, man. Like, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, come on. That's embarrassing. Like, that's embarrassing. That's when you're embarrassing yourself. And that ain't gonna last. That's not gonna last at all. And we don't want that. I don't want to, like, I'll be honest with you. When I'm done with something, I'm done with it. Like, when I'm done with the trucking, when I leave the truck, I hit my goal these 3 months, and I tell my wife, that's it. I'm packing up, and we're on this entrepreneur train full time. It's forever and ever. It's gonna be forever and ever. And if something goes bad, I'm just got to figure it out, because I ain't going back. I'm not going back. You know what I mean? Like, I don't go backwards. Not as far as jobs. I remember I had a point. I'll give you an example. I remember I worked at a prison and I got fired for no reason. I'll be totally honest with you. They fired me over some BS. And then they, I sent them my letter, and then it was like 6 months later, they called me up. And I just started truck driving school. And they said, "Hey, we want you to come back." Then they said, "We come back." And I said, I had the discussion about the money, and they said they weren't gonna pay me. They weren't give me. They weren't gonna pay me for the 6 months I was out. And then I thought about it, and then it was like my second week of truck driving school, and I was struggling because I was like, "Man, I suck at this." You know what I mean? Like it wasn't going well. It wasn't going well. But you know what I said? I said, "Man, F them. F that prison." I said, "F that prison. F the state of Missouri. F it all." Okay. I'm gone. I ain't looking back, man. And I didn't look back. And I left. I did the truck driving school, moved to Atlanta, and the whole nine. And you know the rest. It all worked out. And so I left that. I didn't look back. I left the Navy. I like being in the Navy. It was nice. It was fun. Met two of my best friends, two of my dearest friends. We're friends to this day. I enjoyed the military and everything, but military, I knew it wasn't gonna be for me. So never look back. And I plan on doing the same. And for you, I want the same thing. I ain't looking back, man. We don't look back. It's like it was a time. It's a time in your life. It's a frame in your life. And that's it. And I want that for you as well. And I don't want you to. So we want these, and this is why I tell you, slow and steady wins the race. I know it's hard. I know it's frustrating sometimes. And, the methods we talk about, the strategies we talk about, of course, we don't talk about a lot of strategies all the time, but, we give you life stories, we give you life lessons. And a lot of the strategies you can find yourself. You know what I mean? Like you really don't need me to give you the strategy. A lot of times, when people listen to podcast stuff, you listen to people, a lot of times you kind of more need a booster, like a confidence booster, or just a push. You know what I mean? Like you just need a push. Like any information you want about affiliate marketing, any information you want about copywriting or writing in general, you can find on the internet. you know a lot of times you might need a person who is not a member of your family, because we both know this. You and I both know this. Who are the worst critics? People that you know. You know why? Because they still judge you from the past. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, because I remember. I give you a perfect example. It's a guy that me and my cousin we know, and this guy, he used to be, when we was teenagers, he was a little criminal, okay? But that was 20 years ago. He hasn't done a crime probably since he was 17. Matter of fact, he's a preacher now, okay? He is a preacher, and he's been married to the same woman for 20 years now, 30 years now. He's a great guy. Nothing wrong with him, man. I remember my cousin, he was talking about him. He said, "Where he's at?" He said, "Where is he at? In jail?" And I said, "What?" I said, "No." I was like, "He preaches at a church. Man, what you talking about?" And he's like, "What? I thought he was in jail. I thought he'd be in jail." I said, "Man, that was in the past, man." I said, "Like 20 years ago, man, 30 years ago, man, what you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, I ain't heard nothing about him in the last 25 years. I said, "He just been out there minding his business, man. Been out there working, getting it." And he's like, "Oh, okay." He said, "That's the past." I said, "Yeah, man, that's the past, man." So see, people that you used to know, man, they judge you more than a stranger, So sometimes you listen to this podcast, you need a boost. Hey, I'll tell people, hey, you can do what you want to do. You can make things happen. It's just a matter of, you know, you know, are you gonna do it, and when you're gonna get started? Like don't wait, don't hesitate. Take action and get started. And And one thing that sometimes before you get started, before you take action, sometimes you have to break down sometimes you have to break down your old habits, your old ways. You know what I mean? Sometimes because it's like, how when we were children, we were defiant. We were, when I was 10, I could try something 100 times. If I didn't get it right, I was going to try it 100 more. And if I didn't get it right, I was going to try 100 more. hard-headed SOB. I would do anything. I would try anything. I jumped off roofs. I jumped off roofs when I was a kid. I jumped off, took my bike, jumped off, tried to jump over things, I've split my head open a couple times as a kid, all types of stuff. But I just kept trying to get back up and kept trying to get back up and kept trying and kept trying. And as an adult, I realized one day that I started to try to play things safe, and playing things safe landed me in a boatload, landed me in the misery sea, the sea of misery, we'll call it. The sea of misery, because I was doing something that I didn't want to do, something that I enjoyed for a moment, for a couple of years, but then it's like, what else do I do? What else do I do? I don't know what else to do, but it's safe over here. It's safe over here. You know what I mean? And so I stopped being the child that I was, who would try anything, who was up for anything, who would try anything. And then I started to become, this person, a safe adult. And for a lot of us, the most important thing when you want to start this business, when you want to start anything, sometimes you have to break down yourself. You have to get rid of who you've become, you know what I mean? And go back to those ways that you had before, because we've all tried things as a child, like, when do you try the most food? When you're a child, right? Of course. And when you're an adult, you're like, no, I like what I like. Sometimes we stick too much to old ways, to old habits. And for me, I'll just tell you this. For me, when I first got started, because it's been a journey. It's been quite the journey, and I've learned a lot about myself. And sometimes it's been hard, sometimes it's been difficult. It's been frustrating. But it's been worth it, and it's gonna be worth it. And it's now it's like in that movie Shawshank Redemption, when they talked about Andy Dufresne. They said he swam through 100 yards of poop and came out clean on the other side. With if you want to get to where you want to go, if you want to grow this business, whatever you want to do, if you want to come out clean on the other side, you have to start swimming, and it's gonna be some shit. It's gonna be hard. Sometimes it's gonna be tough. And it's gonna get frustrating. And you're gonna see other people. And you wanna take a shortcut. You're gonna get mad. But you and I both know, if you listen to this podcast, for one, you're pretty tough, because this ain't flashy. This ain't no flashy podcast. We don't sell hype. We don't sell dreams. We sell reality. We tell you the truth. This ain't, oh, you're gonna make $1 million tomorrow. Eventually you will. I know you will. You just gotta keep going at it, and it's not, I can't promise you when. I can't promise you why, and I can't promise you how. But I know if you just keep going and you start swimming and you figure it out, we can figure it out together if you want, if you need the help. But you have to know. And if you, like I said, if you listen to this podcast, you know that you are tough, and that you don't really listen to you don't want to go along to get along. You know what I mean? Like, you're not looking for that. And sometimes it's not the most popular thing, like, this ain't the popular way, you know what I mean? Like, the way we're going about it, it's not trendy, it's not sexy, but it will be sustainable. You will get there, and it will last for a long time. It's not a fly-by-night mission. This ain't a quick airstrike. This ain't no quick booty call. You know what I mean? This is we're in this thing for life. You know what I mean? So you have to figure out, who you are. You have to break yourself down, and you will see some things that you don't like. You will see some things that, what, it's not bad, and You have to do some self-evaluation, and you have to do some real honest work. You have to really call yourself out. And I'll give you an example. I remember when I first started, and I thought I had a lot of quit in me. And I realized as an adult, I don't know what happened, but now I told you before, if something's not working for you, you could quit. But it's things that I know that I can do, that I would just quit on. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. I'm like, I know I could do that. Come on. Why are we not doing it? It's easier, you know what I mean? It was easier for me to just act like, like, oh no, 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 I'm good. Like, nah, like afraid of rejection, but who cares? Because at the end of the day, everybody ain't gonna like you anyway. So it does not matter. Everybody's not gonna like you, so it does not matter, you know what I mean? So everybody's not gonna like what you do. Everybody's not gonna like all the content you produce. And that's okay. That's fine. You should not care because it's your stuff. And you're going to attract the people you're going to attract. And that's it. It's not a, you know, it's not a, let me try to get everybody, because I tried that. Listen, I tried to throw a wide net, try to be, howdy doody, it doesn't work. You can't be milk toast. It's born, and it's phony, and it's fake, and it's not good. It doesn't work. I remember the first couple of times I'm like, what should how should I say this? How should I word it? It's like, come on, man, just say what you say, And so I told my wife, I said, so I found myself saying man a lot in the podcast, and then I would just stop and say one man, okay, I think it's funny, but some people might not like it, some people might take offense, but I'm not here for that. You know what I mean? Like I have no qualms with anybody, so I don't really, you get offended, and that's your own problem. And a lot of times when people get offended about things, unless you're just a blatant racist, which I don't know if you listen, if you definitely listen to the show, you're probably not a blatant racist. I don't think. We don't have any we don't have any racist jokes for you. But if you you say what you say, you know what I'm saying? You say how you say it, because we're all from different worlds. We're all from different places on earth, so your language might be whatever, but that doesn't mean you have to change your language. You don't have to go, oh, hello, governor, I am here to talk about, like, no, that's not how I talk. You know what I mean? So, like, you talk how you talk, and people listen. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So, it is what it is. So, that's why some people like it. They like, hey, I like this guy's accent. I like this young lady, the way she says things, how she explains things, and that's part of it. So, and before if you really want to be successful, you have to self-evaluate. You have to like figure out, what can I do? What can I get better at? And how should I get better at it? You know what I mean? Like I remember the first year I said I wanted to do this. I was like, okay, I want to start my own business. I want to, start creating content. I couldn't really figure it out. And I started listening to these I would listen to these YouTube videos about, about motivation and all that kind of stuff, like kind of like, sort of like self-help videos, because I thought, I was like, well, I need some self-help, you know what I'm saying? And I realized like self-help is cool, but at the same time, you got to help yourself. Like you got to I had to shut up. Like I just had to shut up and just start creating content, and this is how this podcast is born, because, I'll give you I'll give you an example of me quitting. I started this podcast in November 2019, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Remember the first episode I ever did? I did it, and then I fell asleep halfway through the podcast. It wasn't because I was bored; it's just because I was tired, But I did it. I recorded. I uploaded it. I came back the next day, did another one. I did like 3 episodes, ghost episodes, we'll call them, the lost tapes, And I did them. They were okay, and then I remember I said, okay, I gotta do another one. I'll do another one. And November turned into December. December turned to January, and you know the rest of the story. Nothing got done. So then I remember I was talking to myself. I made a few bucks in the online marketing, but it wasn't, nothing to talk about. And then I remember I said, I thought I was going to do this podcast, And I said, yeah, because like January I started doing YouTube videos, and YouTube videos they were okay, but then I had to get. I think I had like 3 weeks off or something like that because it was cold. It had been snowing, something like that. Something weird happened to my truck, so I had time to do YouTube videos. So I did them. They were okay, nothing to write home about. But I remember I was like, "Well, I'm gonna do the podcast," and I was like, podcast, And so podcast ain't for me. You know what I mean? Because people are listening. But how anybody gonna listen if I don't create the content? Of course they're not gonna listen because you're not creating the content. You know what I'm talking about. And so I decided in July, I said, you know what, man, I'm just gonna shut up and I'm going to pick a date and we're going to start a podcast and we're going to do this for the next 365 days. And we picked up some steam. We picked up some pretty cool, we did some great episodes. We did some okay episodes. And we picked up some steam, picked up some momentum. We are, had my wife on the podcast, my mother, she said, my mother she's going to be more critical than the rest of you. I will tell you that right now. She said, you got something good, Pete. I like it. And my mom calls me Pete. If I don't know if I told the story, but my mother calls me Pete. She's the only person in the world that calls me Pete. So, I'm to her, I'm Pete. And she says, Pete, you done good. She said, you know what? I like it. And I said, really? And she said, yes, I like it. And so, that happened. And then I got a couple of messages from people that said they enjoy the podcast, keep up the good work. And I said, I greatly appreciate that. And now we are getting more and more people that find the podcast, that listen to the podcast. And you know what? We still haven't done a whole lot of advertising. And I'm like, you know what? We have something now. We are here now. And this is a slow burn. And we have not hit the goal. We have not, breaking free from the full-time job, but that's okay because I know it's there. And see, that's the thing. Before 2-3 years ago, I would have told you, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't think this is gonna. Listen, I'll tell you exactly what I would have said 3 years ago. Now, you gotta excuse my language. We're gonna cuss. 3 years ago, you would have told me. 3 years ago, 3 years ago, Tony, to the Tony you're talking to right now. I say, hey man, 3 years from now, you're gonna do a podcast, and it's gonna be kind of nice podcast. It's gonna be working. 3 years ago, me would have said, shit, how's that gonna work? What's gonna happen? Huh? What? that would have been a conversation. And I'd have said, man, F that. That ain't gonna work. That ain't make sense. What are you gonna be talking about? Talk about your life story. Telling people things that they might want to hear, successful things of that nature. Yeah, I would have said, nope, sounds dumb to me. And it just would not. It would have not have been a great conversation. But here we are now doing internet online marketing, giving out online marketing strategies, life strategies, things of that nature. And it's good. It's a nice podcast. It's the best podcast in 3 galaxies. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm just humble. I'm humble about it, but But anyway, no, really, honestly, self-evaluate, because if it's not working, because you could be trying stuff and it might not be working, but the thing is you might lack, and it's not a bad thing. You might lack the confidence, you know what I mean? And you might realize you like, oh man, I don't have confidence or the overall belief that it's gonna work. You know what I mean? So think about that. All right, before you give up, look inside yourself and break yourself down and see what you can do to figure the whole thing out. You know what I mean? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. That's it for the podcast. We will be back tomorrow with all new episodes of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, take care of yourselves. My name is Tony Rizano, and as always, everybody, peace.